How do you deal with anxiety and the stress when you're going through the shit?
Men go through this quiet desperation. Oh, I got family. I got to earn the living. I got to be the man. But I think the secret is we got to be different. We got to be calm, confident. Number one, start with action. Action, action, action.
I appreciate everything you said in terms of real world things.
Things that I mentioned today helps people extend that time for patience and stay in that manifestation zone with gratitude and get out of the anxiety. Welcome to the Unfiltered Podcast. I'm your host, Raf, and this is my co-host, Saheer, the engineer.
Yo.
What's up, bro?
Chillin', man. You actually, you always come in asking a question at the top, so I had one for you.
Okay.
Just based off of, our natural, interactions, how do you deal with anxiety and the stress, like when you're going through the shit, when you're like going through it, in the thick of it?
Right.
Just based off of, what how we actually had a meeting yesterday, kind of got sidetracked, just, life is lifing, as they say.
Right.
And as much as we did have a productive conversation, we didn't really talk about what you do. And I just thought, on the way here, that would be a good thing to,
Yeah, yesterday you called me. We had a scheduled meeting, and we joined the meeting, and you were feeling different kinds of ways, like
not ready for the meeting.
Yeah. And walk me through, like, what were you really feeling during that time?
Shit, man, is things come in waves. I guess the highs and the lows. But when you're going through the lows, so like specifically for me, it's certain projects that are otherwise dead ends, and you're just like wasted time, and that can get frustrating because you are putting yourself out there, in your best, in your best shape. You're doing your homework, and things just don't go the way that they were initially, sort of presented to going. And how do you do, in that way, like that's where my anxiety, that's where my overwhelmed, nature was kind of rooted in. So
and was that affecting your just
focus,
like regular focus, during the day?
You can't do shit, especially when you have these kinds of disappointments weighing on you. And I know everybody's different,
right? So
a lot of people have the ability to shrug things off somewhat easier than most. But sometimes, man, it's just like enough is enough. Everybody has limits, I think.
Yeah, and then I think you and I are both very involved parents. We're very involved dads.
Oh, so, that's like a whole different thing, when you're parenting, when you're being a dad, and I know you spend a lot of time with your daughter. You try your best to for sure
be there for her, as much as possible. You max it out, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And when you're going through the shit, it's hard to even focus on the day-to-day, being a dad, being a good parent. Being present. Being present as a good parent.
Absolutely.
And I think, man, we all face this, parents all over the world are facing this stress of taking care of their families. Dads are taking care of their families and going out there and following their dreams or working hard to pay the bills. It can get very stressful, and it's especially nowadays, inflationary period 2023. I feel even though there's no official inflation or numbers and this and that, but it is we can feel it. We can all feel the pinch. We can all see what's happening after COVID.
Absolutely.
And it's affecting everyday families. Everyone is facing this pinch of this I gotta go do my follow my dreams. I gotta go work. Right. I also gotta take care of my family. But these times are really hard. So how do I do everything in the best possible, efficient way? You know? And then during these tough times, it's hard to see what's happening in the near future because times are so tough currently. It's hard to see is this ever gonna change?
It's hard to plan things.
And then when you think about a year from now, then it's anxiety levels go higher because A, there's no control over it, and B, if things stay the same, then we're fucked, 12 months from now it can't stay the same.
No. Things have to change. Something's got to shake. And it's important. I do still have a level of optimism about every and anything
Right.
in my life.
That's beautiful.
But
yeah.
anxiety is still there.
Right.
Stress is still there.
Yeah.
Like, what do you do
Yeah.
to manage that?
Honestly, like one of the simplest things, the way I like to think of it, is that when we're going through the shit, when we're going through the bad times, you know, reminding yourself that like the good times are just around the corner, just because like it was good times just like a short time ago, and then it dipped, and then it goes up, and then it goes down, right?
Sure.
So like during that dip, it's time to remind ourselves of like the good times are coming soon. And then if we can extend the period of like, if we can extend the patience during this period, then everything is fine. You know, like if somebody can like actually go through the shit and like just increase the patience,
Yeah.
and like, you know, expect that you're going through the bad times right now, then you can get to the other side like easier. Like it's easier on the person. You know what I mean? Like, let's give an example. If somebody's doing door-to-door sales, right? Somebody's going door-to-door and selling, cookies, right? If they can increase the number of like times they do that task and get a no and keep going, then they're higher likely to win, right? Like if they can extend that patience, if they can extend the stamina of receiving the no and being okay with it, and then trying again,
still pushing forward.
Yeah, and just extending the time, because like, if you like, let's say if you have to knock on like 10 doors to get one sale, but like you get tired out at 5 and you're like, you know what, fuck this shit. Right. I'm done. And then you complain and leave.
Yeah.
Then you won't get to that 10th one. But then if you just keep going, extend the time, even at number 8, you don't know that just 2 more doors and you're going to get the sale. You don't even know that at number 8. So you just keep going, and then at number 10, you're just like, damn, I got a sale.
There we are. Yeah.
And then you have some data. All right, this means that we have to do 10 knocks to get a sale. So at least. So let's go the next 30, get 2 more sales today, and then we're done, you know? So it changes, like if you can like train yourself to like extend that period, to keep knocking, keep trying, keep doing one more thing, then eventually it all falls into place, you know? So everything that I do to help myself is to remind me of that waiting period, you know, like when times are tough, it's like we have to wait through this. We have to extend this time.
Exactly.
We have to try one more thing.
Sure.
You know?
And just power through the troughs as they were.
Right. Absolutely. Wow. That's been my strategy, and it helps, you know.
Okay.
This summer has been very roller coastery as well, you know.
Okay.
As it is, like whenever you start a new business, you know, when we do the things that we're trying to do, like when you're trying to make your own brand, when you're trying to start something new, you always have this at the beginning of a business. There's always this excitement of like, yo, we're doing this, you know? And then when you start doing it, the reality sets in of like the amount of work that actually takes to do this thing, you know? And then it's like, oh shit, you know?
And then you find out if you're cut out for this.
Right. Yeah. Then you find out quick.
Yeah, you do.
And then you have this option of like, when you're at that spot, like, holy shit, this is really not how I thought it would be. All my friends before getting into this and all those YouTube videos made it seem so easy. But now that we're in here, it's kind of difficult.
It's really not.
At that point, it's
easy.
like you have the option of like, do I accept the difficulty and keep going, or do I change my ways? Like, is this not for me? You know? Unfortunately, a lot of people at that stage go like, this is not for me. I gotta go. You know, I can't keep up with this.
Right.
And then, so I know that feeling. So like when we started this brand, I knew that stage is coming, you know?
Sure.
And one of the things that came up is that, you know, I've been in social media marketing forever, you know, and I've been working with hundreds of artists over the past decade, you know, and artists are like musicians marketing is a little different than like podcast marketing or like marketing for a YouTube entertainment channel or like knowledge-based channel. Obviously music is a different type of marketing, you know, songs come out, you do the different advertising campaigns, et cetera, et cetera. But like for this brand, it would be different, right? And I knew that it'd be different. I knew some of the differences that we would face in this lane. But one of the first things was realizing that the top podcasts in the world, the top podcasts in the game, they put out like 300 to 500 pieces of content each week. Like at a minimum 250. That's their average.
That is crazy.
Yeah, like that's like including the long form podcast, the
Right.
shorts, the reels, the
Right.
little YouTube videos that are 10 minutes.
Across all platforms.
Everything,
Yeah.
LinkedIn,
Yeah.
Twitter, etc. Everything adds up to 250 to 500, The
Wow.
best are doing as much as possible, And then people, and some of the best podcasts are dropping podcasts every day. Some of them are dropping 3 times a week. Those are the greats, And so like when you start a podcast, you go a few months into it, then you're like start, realizing that, okay, what will it take for us to create 250 pieces of content, for social media, And then we started asking ourselves that question. That was the time where in this company, Unfiltered, we were at a stage where we were like, holy shit, this was a lot of fun, but this takes a lot of work. And how are we going to do it? We have a very tiny team.
Yeah.
And that was the point of asking us like, oh, are we willing to do it? And for us, it was obviously, yes, of course, we're willing to do it. So we were asking different questions. Our questions was, how do we do
How can we get
250?
this
How do
done?
we do, at least like if we want to go for 250 a week, we have to start with 2 a day, We can't be stuck at 1 a day.
Right.
How can we put 2-3 pieces of content a day? How can we increase that? How can we do like 5? What's the easiest way to post like 5 to 10 pieces of content a day and go
That's
from there,
Amazing.
We can ask
amounts
those
of-
questions,
That's a crazy output.
Right.
5
But-
a day. Yeah.
But if you're at that stage and going like, I don't know if I can do this, then that's the wrong question. Don't ask yourself that.
Right.
Ask yourself, how can we do that?
Right.
Because 250 sounds like a lot, but it's not a lot. If you think about it, it sounds like a lot, but when you have teams in place and you have somebody writing like 10 tweets a day, 20 tweets a day, 50 tweets a day, like that takes care of a fifth of the content,
Right.
that they're
I
counting,
see. I see.
10 a day for 7 days is 70 tweets. 70 minus 250, you've already reduced
So it's
the
all
number you're going to put up.
pre-production. You want to
Yeah.
have all this stacked up.
You want it stacked up. You want to have teams. You want to have other people who believe in your dreams.
Right.
And those are the better questions to ask than like, can I still continue here? No, the better question is, how can I continue here?
How can
Like,
I say that?
Yeah, the answer for us was like adding more people in our team,
Yeah.
growing the team,
Right.
and then how do we pay for these people? Okay, let's get some clients. Now we have clients, and then I fell into like this summer. I fell into like while building this, my other side of me, the tech side of me, suffered because this summer the tech world started like doing a lot of layoffs. They're not hiring freeze. I faced a lot of problems in my consultancy business,
Yeah.
and so with the money going down over there and building this business up. So a few weeks ago when we were recording this podcast, I spent the entire day trying to like put out fires. All right. I was trying to like fix fires and like also build something, because we have momentum here with Unfiltered.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I don't want to let that go, right? So
Right.
we're building that, putting out fires, and then later in the evening we have the shoot scheduled,
Right.
So my day was like back to back, you know what I mean?
Right.
And so I tried to put a nap in there, and of course, like when you're going through the shit, it's like all your naps don't come like that. You know what I'm
Your
saying?
brain's not gonna turn off.
Yeah, like I'm trying to turn this off, and like somebody in my head is just whispering, "Yo, Raf, what's up?"
You could be doing this right
Yeah,
now.
hey, listen, that email that you were supposed to send? Maybe we should send it. And I'm
Yeah.
like, fucking bro, shut up. Like it's like I'm trying to sleep here, man.
Right.
But they don't listen, and it's like,
No.
and those times I realized that when those little voices are like nagging you about those little tasks, it's best to get it out of the way, get it done, so it's not bothering you.
Right.
Especially for me, that works. Like, I have the nagging voice come in whenever there's something to do and I haven't done it. It's just always there.
And it's strong.
Yeah, it's strong. So it's
Yeah.
easier to just turn it off by getting the job
No,
done.
you gotta get it
know?
done.
Just
Yeah.
get that email out of the way, get that
Right.
post done. So it was like that day. Missed the nap. And then so eventually when we came to the studio, I wasn't primed. I wasn't ready. I was still in that stress mode. I tried to like ground myself with some, techniques, but it was tough. It was very difficult. And then we ended up just like not shooting an episode, just chatting,
Yeah.
but to me that day we, obviously we needed the chat, and it's good to listen to our bodies and like do that.
Right.
But, at the beginning of the day, the goal was to get another podcast shot and recorded and done, right? But like we couldn't do it.
Yeah.
And that was because I couldn't manage the stress that day,
Ah.
and that was like a big aha moment. Like I thought all these years I've been going through, ups and downs, and I've been able to manage my stress, but like I'm still dealing with this on a day to day. And that's the aha, is that this is never done. This is always a work in progress.
Right. And this is a perpetual thing.
Yeah.
You have to get comfortable with constantly changing your capacity, right? For stress.
Right.
And for commitment.
Right. Yeah. And if you can manage that stress on a day to day, then that's how you increase that lag time, so you can ask on another door, knock on another door, and ask for the sale.
Right.
Yet again, like.
Right. With enthusiasm.
With the salesmanship, with all the energy.
Yeah.
But like it's hard to do that if you can't manage that stress.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That day when I was just going through it, I was thinking to myself, like, what's really the source of this? A lot of times when I'm feeling stressed, I ask myself why 7 times. And so I learned this from a podcast.
Oh, okay.
And the guy was saying that he was a neurologist, and he was saying that ask yourself why 7 times to get to, at least 7 times, to get to the source of the problem. Like what he was saying, that what you're currently stressed about is not the source of your stresses. It goes deeper than that.
So you have to keep asking why, even after you have a response.
Even after you have a response.
Okay.
So I was asking myself, why am I feeling stressed right now? The answer was, I haven't put out these fires, and then I have scheduled podcasts coming up. These are the things that are stressing me out. All right.
Sure.
Then I asked myself again, why are you, worried about those things? And then my answer to that was like, if I don't put out those fires, then it can keep going, right? If I don't prepare for it can rage. If I don't prepare for the podcast, we might have a bad episode,
Right.
And then, okay, why does that matter? Was the next question. And so I kept asking why until I figured out that my final answer was basically, I was fearing that maybe I wasn't ready for the podcast because I have all these other fires to take care of. And so it was making me feel like, what if I bit off more than I can chew? I have so many things going. What if I'm biting off too much more than I can chew?
Right.
And so why does that bother me? The answer was because it makes me feel like inadequate. Am I capable of handling so many things, like putting out these fires and doing a dope podcast, And if I can't do these things, what does that mean for me? Like it's self-doubt. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like am I worth even anything that I'm seeing in my head?
Yeah, like why am I trying to do these two things at the same time when I'm incapable of doing them both well? Right. And so later on, it also felt bad when I couldn't finish the podcast. We instead ended up chatting with each other, which was what we needed.
Sure.
But at that time, my head went to that self-doubt, and the reason was self-doubt,
Sure.
And so knowing that helps, because then I can tell myself, I can now do some practices to like change that self-doubt, because like I don't usually have that. And that day, because of the stresses, it got triggered,
Right.
All these little fires triggered that feeling, and that told me that I need to take care of this, and it's like,
but see, like that's, I guess life, sometimes that happens in life. Everything just happens all at once.
Right.
And it feels overwhelming, and we kind of responded well to that, I think.
Right. Yeah. And it's that self-doubt comes, with this uncertainty of the future, like not knowing how things are going to change. How can you actually, like, if I can't handle all this pressure today, how can I handle this a year from now, 2 weeks from now, 7 months from now?
Yeah.
That little uncertainty breeds anxiety, uncertainty.
For sure.
Breeds that anxious energy, and just keeps giving that. So like during these times, the best thing to do to improve that self-doubt is like remove the uncertainty, or like bringing certainty towards the certain things that you can be certain about.
Okay.
Because in life, you have to accept that nothing is under your control,
Right.
So then if we can ask ourselves what is really under our control, then you start to find out things that are under your control that will give you certainty. And then that improves your self-doubt, because then you're getting certainty from something,
From some level, yeah.
Some level of certainty you're getting.
Right.
And for us humans, we need a little bit of both. We need certainty and uncertainty. We need a little bit of both. Like, it's not always fun for us to have certainty all the time.
No.
if you're just always winning,
It's not exciting.
Yeah, it's boring. You know,
Yeah.
like if you're the number one in the world, like every year, it gets fucking boring. You know, like you can see like Drake's been number one for years. You know,
Yeah.
do you think he's as excited about it as he was in 2009?
Ben said.
No,
Yeah.
he isn't.
Ben said he sounds bored.
Yeah, too much certainty, not good. We always need a surprise party once in a while. You know, that uncertainty. You come home, surprise, birthday, blah, blah, blah. That's like awesome because you like that uncertainty. We just don't want uncertainty when like it's something bad, you know, but we need both of them, you know. And so like when life is so uncertain and the future is so like confusing and like lack of control, the best thing to do is bring certainty in the life that you currently lead, you know, and that like putting actions towards that will guarantee that you have certainty, some sort of certainty.
In some way, shape, or form.
Some way, shape, or form.
It can be,
you got some certainty.
Something small.
Yeah.
Right.
And that helps, that grounds you, that removes the stresses a lot, because then your brain is getting a little bit of both.
What sort of things?
So to remove that uncertainty, to increase certainty in your life, start doing the things that will give you certainty, right? Okay. And so you were mentioning you liked...
cleaning. Yeah. I've seen multiple, I guess, pieces of advice stemming around tidying up your environment.
Right.
Be it wash clothes or fold clothes or do your bed, you know, or do vacuum, right, you know, and get into a state where nothing matters except cleaning.
Right.
And making sure that you actually get that done.
Absolutely. See, that's a major key. Action. Taking action on something that'll give you certainty. Cleaning, you know that by the end of this cleaning session, everything will be clean.
There's a result there.
Yeah, there's a result, there's certainty.
Yeah.
When everything else in life seems so uncertain, it feels nice to have one thing that was certain.
Yeah.
We got something that worked out.
Yeah.
And so then if you can increase the number of those type of things during this time, that's the best thing, you know? And so like point number one for dealing with the daily anxieties when you're going through the shit, number one, start with action. Action, action, action. You know, whether it's doing a quick cleaning, whether it's crossing off something from your list, that's a simple thing, or getting into work. Like if you have a full list of things to do, like for example, for you, sound engineering.
Do it.
Maybe there's, client projects that are waiting or, you know, that you're working on, but like they're just there, you know, something to work on. Jump on that. Finish that project, you know, because then that action will give you that belief that at least, hey, look, you know what? Everything else is uncertain. But at least certainly I'm getting this done.
Whatever's in whatever's in my court right now, whatever's on me, I'm getting done. I'm turning around.
Yeah.
Sure.
And during times like these, it's important to ask yourself, what do I have control over? And then do those things, you know? Because like for me too, like when I'm going through the shit, I ask myself, what do I, like, let's take a pause, let's breathe, and let's think about what can I control here?
Yeah.
What can I do? And then usually most of the time the answer is action. It's like, go do this and then do those fucking 5 things.
Right.
End of the day, it's a better day, you know, and then we start again, you know?
Right.
So number 1, action. Number 2, breathe. You know, during times like these, it's important to like breathe. And Andrew Huberman has amazing podcasts on this, amazing content on this. You know, anybody else, who's interested in the subject of neuroscience, Andrew Huberman has dope content around the power of breathing, you know, like just taking 2 breaths through your nose, doing that 5 times, closing your eyes. Closing your eyes helps because like it shuts down all the stimuli in the world.
Right.
Just close your eyes and just do that.
Okay.
And do that 5 times. You instantly slow down everything, you know? Doing that and then going into action, which is step number 1, is always going to be the best things to do, you know?
Okay.
Those are great starters. Number 3, increasing certainty, right? That's what we're trying to do to get rid of the daily anxieties when you're going through the shit. Increasing certainty, for me, something that I love to have certainly in the mornings is time to myself. Like, I have a almost 3-year-old now.
Oh, damn.
Right? And
time's flying.
Yeah. And when the house wakes up, when the whole family wakes up, you know, we're running, right? But like before that, it's super important to have some like me time to think, time for prayer, time to breathe, time to like If I want noise, it'll be my music that I want.
Right.
If I want quiet, it's quiet.
Right.
If I want soccer on TV, it's soccer on TV. It doesn't have to be like a nursery rhyme. So like, so that's important for me, and that gives me certainty. So like, usually during these times, I try to like wake up early. I already wake up at 5, so when I want more time to myself, I'll maybe do 4:45.
Wow.
But like 5 usually, and that helps me gain more certainty. Like I know that no matter what's going on in my life, tomorrow morning I will get that time in the morning to myself.
That's great.
Yeah, to write things down, to plan, strategize. If I'm going through some big problems tonight, it's better for me to sleep on it. Tomorrow morning, I got that time. I got the 2-3 hours in the morning.
Right.
To like really like quiet, focused work, or like focused. Like if my body needs more time for meditation, meditate. If my body needs more time for like I don't know, self-care, we're doing that. But if it's like work that needs to get done, I have those extra hours. That gives me certainty.
Right.
At times when everything is uncertain.
Right. Right.
So that's one of the strategies.
Okay. I started like just like picturing myself like taking more action when I'm feeling overwhelmed instead of feeling overwhelmed.
Right.
I think that's one of my bigger pitfalls is I stay in my head.
Right.
And I just keep thinking about what ifs. I think about the past, and it's a perpetual thing. It's really hard to pull yourself out of that.
Right.
So these sorts of things, which is doing things,
right,
kind of keeps you rooted, right,
yes,
in the present, and allows you to exercise and feel control. You
right.
know? And I think that's a lot of it is a mental game. A lot of it is just keeping your head on straight, even when things are looking rough.
Right.
Because that's really what's shaping you out to handle the highs as well.
Right. Because
it's important not to lose your shit when things are going really well as well.
Right.
So like remaining calm at all times, breathing, these are all things that I'm just imagining myself doing that I just haven't done. And I'm sure, like, to all due love and respect to everybody who loves me in life, they have, I'm sure, told me all of this stuff, but now it's different when you're an adult and you're a parent and you have to apply these things to really have a full day and a day that's productive, not something where you feel like you're just always chasing the next thing and hoping that you make the deadline, or you hoping that you make your timeline work.
Yeah, absolutely. You have a 2-year-old, and when did she start walking?
Oh shit, that was I think confidently I would say around 11 months.
Yeah, like around year-old or so.
Yeah.
And when she started walking first, how many times did she fall?
Oh yeah,
at the beginning.
We talked about this. Yep. Yeah. Many times.
It's just endless times. Like babies, I believe, fall on average 80 times each day. Babies fall so many times at the beginning. Like every hour, they it just feels like 10, 20 times they fell each hour.
It's repeated.
They just keep falling, and then they just get up and just keep going. Right. That's the difference. Babies haven't developed that part of their brain yet to remunerate and think on the shit that they're going through.
Right.
Because if they stopped to think, they'd be like, bro, I feel like,
how many times did you do
200
this?
Times today, this morning I fell. Is this ever gonna work for me?
Right.
The baby, if they would think, that's what they would think. Because they're humans. They would be like, holy shit, this is never gonna work for me. Look at all these kids on TV, they're running around. I can't even go from here to there.
Right.
But that's what happens to adults, because we've developed that side of our brain so much.
Yeah.
Now we just start questioning ourselves. Is it ever gonna happen? But we can learn from the youngest in our species.
Right.
That I think if you just keep going, then you win. And so
resiliency. Just keep going. Nipsey said that about his rest in peace, about his career as well, about his output. That I might not be the best to you, I might not make the greatest songs or whatever, but it's one thing about me is that I just never quit.
Right.
And I think he was talking about music at that point.
Yeah.
I know he does like a lot of things, in the community and outside of music in terms of business. But musically, he just kept going, kept pushing stuff out.
Yeah.
And despite all of his hurdles, that was the commonality. And I think anybody who's been successful will tell you that.
Absolutely.
That they just stayed at it.
Yeah.
Very simply.
Yeah.
They just stayed at it.
And we learn this lesson from the youngest in our species, and that's
from
the
babies.
beauty of it.
Yeah.
Another thing they teach us is like babies teach us is that when they cry, what's the thing that you do? Like when your daughter is crying,
right?
What do you do to like stop her?
Man, you could try to console her. You try to like just, I guess, like
distract her, show her something
little bit.
else. Maybe
that's true.
Maybe toys. Give her
now
something
we are
she
distracting
likes.
things. Yeah.
Bring something into her attention that's
like, do you want
that
this?
She has
do you want
more
that?
interest
Yeah,
in.
you want cookies?
Yeah. We distract him. That's something that is that we can do ourselves to distract ourselves.
For sure.
We can like take our attention to something that we are actually in control of, that we actually can do something about.
Right.
And like I said, I wake up a little earlier to like get to the things that I need to get to. That helps me. That kind of distracts me from the worries. That kind of brings my attention towards what do I have in control.
Right.
That brings the attention to that. And then when you're doing that, you're crossing off more things. That's improving yourself. That's getting rid of self-doubt because you're crossing off things.
You're showing yourself that you can do things.
Yeah, you can do things.
Yeah.
You're reassuring yourself.
Simply.
Yeah. If I feel stressed, if I'm feeling super anxious and almost like panicky, if something's happening and I'm feeling like that.
Yeah.
The first thing that I do to distract myself is like I ground myself by engaging the 5 senses. So I'll be like, all right, 5 things that I can see in this room right now.
Right.
And I'll say them out loud. I can see lights, I can see the mic. 4 things that I can hear right now.
Right.
I can hear the birds outside. I can hear the neighbors.
Right.
3 things I can touch right now.
Right.
I can touch the mic, my phone. All right. 2 things that I can what is it?
There's
smell?
taste. There's
Smell.
taste and smell.
Yeah.
Right. Those
There's
are the
taste
two.
and smell. Okay. 2 things I can smell right now, and whatever it is. Okay.
Okay.
And then 1 thing that I can taste. I'll like drink coffee or something. Like put something in my mouth, taste something.
Right.
Instantly, it grounds me. It brings me to present. It stops me from thinking about the past or worrying about the future. I get present.
Right.
It takes me down a notch. Then I do some breathing exercises.
Right.
Then I'm ready to do the actions that needs to be taken.
Right. And then you take it one by one.
You take it one by one.
Right. And you're not freaking out about doing everything.
No. That would be number 4, right? I think 4 ways so far we're at number 4 for the number of ways to deal with daily anxieties when you're going through the shit. Number 5 would be when you're going through the shit and feeling that anxiety, journal, write it all down. Do a huge brain dump. Like just sit on the computer, just write.
Okay.
Write all your feelings.
Okay.
Writing gives you this power that you feel like you're separated from it. Like you have used that anxiety to create something or put something down on paper. Now it's out of your head. Now it's in physical form. You gain more power over it. Now you have control over it.
Right.
Especially if you're writing it all down. It's your prerogative. Like, how do you want to write the narrative?
Right.
Like, it's your decision.
This is for your reflection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You write it all down. If you don't like some parts of it, you can go back and change it.
Right.
You can say, okay, I don't like this part. I want it to look like this instead. You can even go back and do those kind of things that make you feel better.
Sure. Sure.
It gives you more control. I'm not saying that this is solving any of your problems, and I'm saying that this is helping you stay grounded. It removes the current anxiety and like brings you into the power mode. Brings you into control. Like now you have control.
Right.
And then if you see all your problems on your screen, that makes it easier for you to tackle them. So yeah, we keep coming back to this. Action is the biggest thing. You have to act on it.
Yeah, you gotta do something.
Yeah,
absolutely.
The next point, that was number 5. Number 6 is stay rooted in the dream. I say like you gotta touch the dream every day. If you can do something to touch the dream, you gotta touch the dream every single day. You can't forget about it.
Right.
All right. So like what that looks like is that you have to visualize the feeling that you would be in when you're when you've achieved that goal.
Right,
you know?
right.
For me, what that looks like is that I do some meditations where I'm talking to my future self.
Right.
And my future self talks back to me and tells me about how it all worked out and like how the problem that you're currently facing will work out in one way or the other. And I do certain like meditations that are like quantum leaps to the future, you know?
Right.
It sounds like woo-woo shit, but it works for me, you know? And like, you know, I'm going to put the links down in this podcast description. At number 6, you'll see it, like it'll say like lesson 6. And there's going to be a link to a meditation that I use to talk to my future self regularly. Especially when I'm feeling anxious, like when times are, you know, roller coastery.
Right.
There are particular meditations that I like, guided meditations that I do that help me talk to my future self and calms me down. It gives me confidence that everything's going to work out, you know? It makes me feel like I'm talking, look at this guy, like he's already doing it. Like,
yeah.
You know, like what am I worried about? You know, I'm talking to my
it's just a matter of
future
time.
guy. Yeah. Like my future self has got it figured out. That means I will be through this, you know? Because like, look, it's still there, you know?
Right.
And that helps me live the dream, touch the dream, you know? That also looks like going and touching the dream even a little bit if you can, you know? Like Ed Milet, when he was going through his, when he was building his businesses, when he was like in his 20s, when he hadn't made it yet, now he's worth hundreds of millions. But like when he was growing his businesses, he says he used to go book a hotel room with his wife, like at like, I think it was basically Newport Beach or, one of these in Orange County, like pretty much like one of the dope hotels by the ocean and like 5-star and all that, you know, like get the whole, you know, package. Once every 2 months, 3 months, he would go do that with his wife so that he can touch the dream just for a day. Just for a day, he's a boss. He's the best, you know.
Nice.
Just for a day, he's 5-star, you know.
Like he felt, right.
That helps him touch the dream, you know.
Incredible.
One of my dreams, like one of my goals that I'm working towards is a house by the ocean. For me, touching that dream means going to the ocean and visiting more often than not, you know?
Right.
A lot of times I hear Californians who grew up here go like, oh, you know, we take the ocean for granted. You know, oh man, you go to the ocean, that's awesome. Like I sometimes I'm just so busy with my work, I don't even take time to go to the ocean. It's not everyone. I know a lot of Californians who love the ocean.
And we go there regularly.
Yeah, regularly. So this is not everybody.
No,
like,
but it's true though.
Who do that,
very much so. But very much so. Where it's like we don't even know how close we are to some really peaceful environments, and that like if we just take some time out to go there, you know, and clear out our heads, like it'll be better when we return.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah, touching the dream regularly.
Touching it,
so
yes.
What's an example of you touching the dream every day?
Shit. Touching the dream. Sorry. I gotta think here. Man, no, we just for me, like I like to eat good. You know, I like to do like the little fancy. Excuse me. And we just did that, and we just went to Chicago. Yeah. And we went to a couple restaurants that are somewhat outside of the normal budget, you know, but you try scallops that come from there, you know, shit tastes way different. So that's one of the, I would say one of the more recent times where I felt like it's not something that I normally do, but this is kind of where like if I was to go out, I would want that to be the normal budget, you know, like to go eat and to have a good time, especially in places that have a nice environment to them, you know, and have something new to offer that usually takes a little bit more. So I mean that was one of them that was kind of close. But to me, my dream though, and I know it's not, I guess,
but that's a good example though.
Go ahead. Yeah. Let's go with the restaurant.
I do like that example because Ramit Sethi, you know, he's got a show on Netflix. He says you gotta, you know, put a budget out for your rich life. You know, that's your rich life. You want to feel that, you know. Yeah. Ramit says this all the time, you know.
Sure, definitely.
And I love that, you know, advice. So like that's a dope one. But what was this next one you were gonna say?
I was gonna say that for me, my touching my dream is really like, I guess like maybe I'm just still in the in the fanatical phase of being a dad. You know, I love it so much. So like being at home with my daughter is like the best to me, and being at home with just my family in general. That's everything. So I do have aspirations, and I do want to do good in the world outside of just my family. But when I am hanging out with them, like that feels good. That feels like where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
And then when I see her, do something new, or if I'm there when she does something for the first time, that makes me feel happy. That makes me feel like I am, experiencing life. I'm living the dream in terms of having a wife and a kid and a house, and being able to enjoy.
Right.
So I do want to remain grateful. As much as I do feel anxiety, I do feel like I want more. But those things, the things that you'd said before, they kind of help with this in terms of
staying present.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, because that's a dream that you can touch every day, and that's a beautiful dream, because you're right. So many parents out there, and I know so many, and I've faced this myself, where it's like you have different aspects of your life. You've got a job, you've got work, you've got dreams, you've got business. Then you have also you have your friends, you have all these things, but then your family is number one, and for dads like you and me, we love hanging out with our kids. It's just like the best time
it
of
really
the day.
is. It really is.
And those times, it's so important for us to stay present. And so many parents suffer through this moment of having to, even parents working from home, kids are right there, but they're in a meeting right here,
Yeah.
which is difficult, very difficult. And so I think I'm so glad you brought up this point, because being present with our kids is something that we can do every day.
Absolutely.
We can touch that dream every day and increase the amount of time we stay in that zone, over time.
Right.
If parents are multitasking, there's obviously so much to do as parents, but we have to start by staying present, however we can.
Right. Even for those little moments.
Yeah, being intentional about it.
Right.
That I'm gonna stay present. I'm gonna turn off the phone for this time.
Right.
I'm gonna even if it's an hour, 30 minutes.
Yeah, they're gonna have to wait for the next hour now.
Yeah.
Whoever calls, whoever reaches out,
Yeah.
they're gonna have to wait. And I am it's not every day, but there are some days where I intentionally leave my phone upstairs, come downstairs to make lunch, and really try to have conversations with my wife, have conversations with my daughter, play with my dog a little bit, not be on my phone constantly, just and not be around it enough for it to call my attention.
Right.
And I think that's an active choice that you kind of have to make for that.
Yeah.
For sure.
Absolutely. That's something that we can do right now to touch the dream every day,
Sure.
I was talking to my therapist about this recently, and she was suggesting that it's super important to touch the dream and live in that dream world every day, so that you manifest that feeling more, in your life. So if we're feeling let's say 80% of the day worried or anxious, then I'm afraid that I'm attracting more worries and anxiety into my life.
Absolutely.
And so if I can stay in a place of calm confidence, then I'll attract more calm confidence as we go,
100%.
And more, if I can live in abundance right now, then I'll see more abundance as we keep
You'll attract
growing.
that.
Yeah, we'll attract that.
100%.
And this is something that, that I'm also fearful of. Where if I feel anxiety, I start getting scared that I'm getting anxious. Am I attracting more problems to me? And so then
is it on me?
Yeah. Then it's very important for me to step away and go out, meditate and go out to nature, go touch the dream, go, live that, live the dream right now, so that I don't feel that anxiety, so that we don't end up attracting that.
Right.
And so my therapist was saying that it's good to do 80-20. 80% of the time, live in that delusion.
It
I
is
like
a delusion.
to call it delusionally positive.
I'm glad you used that word, because that's what it's feeling like.
That's what it is. Yeah.
But it is.
I like to say it's delusionally positive. And so like stay delusionally positive 80% of the time, because you want to manifest those positive results. Feel the goal like as if like if you're working towards earning $1 million, feel like $1 million right now,
Right.
and feel that feeling like as if you're already in that million zone. So like what would you do differently if you're in that million zone, you know? And then 20% of the time stay entrenched in the reality, because if you don't spend 20% of the time in reality, those nagging voices are never going to quiet down, because those nagging voices know like what's wrong. Like they know like what, like you know what the fires are currently lit.
Right.
And part of you is going to be like, yo, let's turn off those fires. Let's take care of that. Let's take care of that.
Yeah.
So that 20% of the time, you got to take care of those things. You got to like face those problems 20% of the time.
Right.
And then bring out the action steps that you can take in the 80% of that time, you know, in that 80-20, in that 80 where you're in that manifestation zone, in that like positive zone. That's where you do the actions that you took out of the 20% that was worrying you, you know?
Right.
Then you're like kind of like taking care of fires and being positive and like manifesting the positive.
Right. And being better for it.
You're taking the action, so you're not as anxious, you know?
Makes sense.
So 80-20, again, action. You got to take the action. Always comes back to that, you know?
Yeah.
So these are little tactics to like calm down the nerves currently, so you can go take action.
Right.
So yeah, that's something I picked up from my therapist. Shout out to her. Number 7 comes from number 6, where it's like the 20% of the time that you are, dealing with the current problems. Number 7 is answering questions. Answer as many questions as you can when you're feeling this anxious zone. Answer the questions like it's because of the knowledge gaps, it's because of the things you don't know, is why we're anxious, is why we're having uncertainty. So like if we can add certainty into these questions that we have, then we're getting rid of uncertainty.
So gather more information.
Gather knowledge. Yep. Okay. It's time to listen to podcasts. It's time to listen to motivational content if you like that. Right. It's time to listen to or read audiobooks, or like time to listen to audiobooks or read books on the problem that you're currently facing.
Right. How to.
Yeah, how to. Answering questions also looks like asking other people questions. It looks like reaching out to people that you haven't reached out in a while.
Asking for help.
Yeah. Putting the ego aside and telling your buddy, like, bro, you know what? I'm going through some shit.
Yeah. Like, I don't know what to do here.
I don't know what to do here. I need some answers. Buddy may or may not have answers, but at least you're gonna try going towards.
Or they'll they'll point you in some direction if they're your buddy. Yeah, like have you tried this, or you know about this? Like it's important to talk.
Yeah, it's important to talk. Important to find mentors. It's important to, it's important to find groups that are doing the same thing that you're doing, and I have digital products in other markets already, and so like when we were building digital products, as we were building digital products for Unfiltered, I ran into some knowledge gaps. I ran into some questions, and what we did is we joined groups on Facebook, and we joined courses on certain things to create these digital products that we're working on, to create it easier, create it faster, maybe ask somebody some questions. I created a little focus group to like go back and forth with and
test
things like
out
that.
things on. Okay.
That kind of stuff increases certainty, increases the help that like, listen, we can actually freaking do this, Number 8.
Yeah.
It's high time when you're going through anxiety to increase gratitude. How do you increase gratitude? By doing the gratitude practices regularly, Okay. Actions, like surprise, certain actions takes care of certain problems, when we're anxious, we're living in fear, we're living in that lack of control stage.
Yeah.
But like when we're in gratitude, we can't live in gratitude and live in fear. We can't be scared of something at the same time as appreciating
being
something.
Thankful. Right.
Like starting a business is scary, so for a lot of people there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of questions. There's a lot of unanswered questions out there, doubts, self-doubt, so many things you have to take care of.
Right.
Starting a business is difficult. People go through the shit, right? But if you can stay in that place and be grateful for that moment, feeling like, man, I'm so grateful that I'm able to pursue this business.
Yeah, that we're here. Even taking this first step, right?
Yeah.
Right.
We're building Unfiltered from a garage. Like, wow, age-old story. You know, Microsoft came out of a garage. Wow,
Yeah.
that's cool. If
Yeah.
we can appreciate these moments, we won't be so scared of it.
Yeah.
One way to think of it is like, oh my God, we're starting from a garage when all our competitions, they have huge studios. Oh my God. You know, like, look at their
Right.
studios, look at ours. This is a homemade little production.
Right.
That's one way to look at it. Another way to look at it is like, I am so fucking grateful that I can do this from my garage.
Yeah.
Like, this is crazy. You know, like I can just walk out.
Right.
Like,
And be with my family.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
We can do, like, when I'm in that gratitude phase, I'm not in my fearful, uncertain phase, you know?
Sure.
So like increasing gratitude. And like some people suggest writing down every day, wake up and write down 5 things you're grateful for. Before going to sleep, reviewing the 5 things you're grateful for, you know?
Sure.
Some people do that. I've done that at certain times in my life. I don't do that currently. Currently, it gets into my morning prayers and meditation. Like my meditations are usually gratitude meditations, you know, and I'm just being grateful for things. So it's like good for me to stay in the gratitude phase, because if I can be grateful,
It's hard to be fearful.
It's hard to be fearful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Okay.
When I had my son, when we had our son, 2020,
Yeah.
the world was shut down. It was
Right.
COVID.
Right.
First version of this podcast started at that time.
Right.
It was just online. And we were doing episodes every week. We were interviewing people. My wife was the producer. I was the host. I was interviewing artists online
Right. I
every
remember
week.
that. I remember
And
that.
yeah, and we did 60 artists in this period
That was
during
dope.
COVID.
Yeah.
60 is a lot. And for a podcast that started from nothing, we did 60.
Yeah.
And we were having momentum and we were going, and I was super excited. We were making it happen. My wife was pregnant, and that gave me even more confidence. Like, wow, she's producing while being pregnant.
Well,
we're gonna
this-
win. Like,
this is
you know,
dope. Right, right.
We can do this now. We can do this forever. You know,
Right.
like not knowing what's coming. And this is COVID. And then had a preemie 3 months early. Everything went like crashing down, like in terms
Damn.
of the productivity.
Right.
And so at that time, this podcast is very close to me, right? Like I love this. And I couldn't record anymore because our son was in the
Got a baby.
hospital.
Right.
And we were in the hospital for like
Right.
3-4 months with him.
Excuse me.
And and it just felt like I couldn't be productive.
I mean,
And
how could
yeah, I couldn't be productive. The future is uncertain. Can I really even do this? And then this is piled on top of all the things that went south after COVID that I was running away from. So like I said, when I get anxiety, I go into action mode, right? So it has its pitfalls. So one of the pitfalls is all the things that went south in the music industry and in the business world during COVID affected me in 2020 during COVID. And so to fight that, I went into action mode and started the podcast so that I could just work on this regularly and not worry about that things
Right.
I'm anxious about, but do something productive, do action.
Yeah.
And now we have 60 artist interviews and this and that.
Dope as fuck.
We get that out of it. We don't have the anxious story, right? So
Right.
that's a win. But when I couldn't do that, when I couldn't escape anymore to my work, and I had to be in the hospital.
Got to be present.
Yeah. Got to be present. And we have a baby here in the preemie ward. Things are frightening. All those thoughts of like the things that didn't, that like crashed due to COVID, the things that lost momentum due to COVID started all piling up. Because now the podcast that had 60
Similar
interviews
thing.
was also in the same boat. So everything's crashing. There's a child. But like focusing on that fear it would be the detriment. So like
Right.
what I had to do at that time was like gratitude. How can I be grateful for this moment? Oh my God, my baby was a preemie and is still alive.
Right.
Like
right.
3 months early is a lot.
It's very early.
How is he still alive? You know, like
Yeah.
so many kids at that stage, you know, unfortunately
That's
don't
amazing.
make it.
Yeah.
And here I am worrying about all this other shit. I can't. I have to be present and be grateful for this moment. We change everything, you know?
As hard
It
as
changes
it
all
is.
the questions. It
Yeah.
changes like, wow, I'm so grateful for this. What does this mean for me? Wow, this gives me another chance. Wow, this gives this child another chance.
Yes.
Oh my
yes.
God, what are we gonna do for him? You know, and it's like,
Right.
oh, what kind of dad do I have to be now for a child like this who's so resilient? You know, I gotta also be resilient.
Oh
I
my
also gotta
gosh.
be strong.
Motivation's different.
Yeah, it's so different.
Right.
changed everything, because the perspective went from fear of like, oh no, everything's crashing, to and we're in the hospital, we don't know if he's even gonna survive, to like, no, I'm so grateful that he survived. Oh my God. And all that stuff, we can do it. Honestly,
we can deal with it.
I'm pretty sure we can figure this out.
We'll deal with it.
And that's what happened. We did a version 2 of Unfiltered.
Yeah, we are.
This year, 2023.
Hell yeah.
We're doing this.
And that's what's important. Is that you stayed pushing.
Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah.
That's that resiliency is so important.
Right.
Asking that question, how do we get to that gratitude zone?
Right. You didn't buckle into fear or buckle under fear.
Yeah, you can't let fear take over,
Absolutely.
That increases belief, self-belief. That increases the belief in your dream.
Right.
Like staying entrenched in gratitude.
Right.
And staying entrenched in like staying present and grounded. Staying grounded helps you stay, increase your belief.
Right.
Remove self-doubt, increases your certainty. Right. All of this solves anxiety like very easily.
And that's what anxiety is. It's rooted in like the unknown. Like what's gonna happen.
Yes.
Or damn, it's like this right now. Like what's gonna happen? And you stay stuck in the what ifs.
Right.
Whereas all these things that you've mentioned, they
helps you get out of the what ifs.
Right. And right here back onto reality. Right.
Fuck what ifs, what now? What are we doing now? What do we have control over?
Exactly.
What is the next action?
Exactly.
And then like staying entrenched in the 80-20, like staying in that manifestation dream zone.
Yeah.
And then 20% of the time solving the problems.
Right. That's not a bad ask.
Yeah, exactly. Recently, I ran into a YouTube short, and it was Joe Rogan talking about how men go through this quiet desperation. Like men are going through this quiet desperation of like, oh, I got family, I got to earn the living, I got to go out and take care of all this, but I can't complain because like I got to be the man, I got to, it's so difficult, we're just fucked, And I agree with him that is what people are feeling. A lot of men are feeling this quiet desperation in this world.
Sure.
But I think the secret is we got to be different. We got to be calm, confident. We got to be entrenched in calm confidence, not quiet desperation. And I think the way you do that is by doing these strategies, by focusing on gratitude, by focusing on how you can increase your self-belief, remove self-doubt, how you can like bring control into your life.
Right.
That's how you get out of quiet desperation.
Right.
Because then it starts to give you confidence. As you do these action steps, it's one more thing each day. It just builds you up. You got to have intense build up towards all these things that promises you a better future.
Yeah.
Versus the build up of all the shit that society is going to give you. Like, because society is going to always make you feel like, oh, this sucks. You're not good enough. Like society, like even Instagram, the way it's built, things that make people feel envious is promoted in the algorithm.
The FOMO.
Yeah, the FOMO.
Yeah.
The, like, look at me. The look at me content is so fucking dope, like so fucking on fire on Instagram and TikTok. It's because it works, right?
Yeah.
But like all that shit is like built to make you and us and men everywhere like feel like they're small, feel envious.
Feel less than.
Yeah, less than. Look at this guy. He's on his fucking yacht. I wish I was on a fucking yacht.
Right.
Nah, bro. I don't wish I was on that yacht because I got shit to do today. That's what we need to think. Like, I have fucking, like, we got to build up our dreams so big and make it like part of our lives so much and believe in ourselves and the dreams so much and have so much faith in God and universe. We got to be entrenched in your reality.
Right.
And then your fucking steps that you can do, the things that you can control.
Sure.
Control that, Control that. Get rid of the phone.
Exactly.
Because that shit is not, like, helping us.
No, and it's providing a distorted image as to what's actually out there.
Yeah.
The way folks represent themselves and their lives.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's meant to make you feel like you're missing something. So you go out and maybe purchase more, or you go out and shop, so to speak, or at the bare minimum. So I think it's important that we stay rooted as much as we can in our lives and what matters to us directly
and what we have control over
directly, and not compare ourselves to things that are out there so much.
Comparison is a thief of joy.
Very much
and
so.
this is the thing. And social media, that's the job. Like comparison,
That's what drives numbers.
That's what drives numbers. And these are the things that gives us anxiety, like social media and this comparison.
Huge.
And just like doing all this
Huge.
shit. Instead, focus on ourselves. And so like the things that I mentioned today helps people like extend that time for patience, extend that time to go knock on more doors,
Yes, sir.
to make the sales.
Yeah.
Stay and stay in that manifestation zone with gratitude, and get out of the anxiety.
Yeah, absolutely.
It starts with action.
And like I appreciate everything you said earlier on, even for the bulk of this episode, in terms of real world things, that can slow us down and kind of husa for a second.
Right.
And I think we left social media towards the very end there, because as much as you and I do scroll around, I don't think we are comparing ourselves.
Right.
I think we have lived enough, we have had enough experiences in real life to recognize when social media things are social media things.
Right.
When people are doing gimmicks, for the sake of gimmicks, and when there's people that are actually contributing to society. So, yeah, I think our anxieties, mine at least, are still very much rooted in reality.
Right.
Which is why the stuff that you said earlier on is really valuable.
Yeah, absolutely.
In terms of breathing, and getting to action, and trying to be grateful as much as possible. These things really help tackle real life situations.
Yes.
And real life can get really hard,
Right.
really fast. And having these things at your disposal,
Yeah.
I think will make it that much easier.
Absolutely. One final point that I want to
Yeah.
mention before we even end this list is, I think this is number 9 or this is number 10. Is something that we mentioned a little earlier, I think in number 6 or something, where I was talking about touching the dream. One of the things that I do is get closer to the beach because I want to live, by the beach and
Right.
etc. But like going out in nature, that's one of the best things to do. When we're entrenched in anxiety, maybe it's really good time to step away, just go out to nature. It's psychologically freeing, and then it really benefits humans to like be around greens and blues, like trees and the ocean. And it also like the wavelength changes when you're out in nature from the city,
Or
the
in your
energy
little
wavelength.
cubby.
Yep.
Yeah, wherever you're working away.
Yeah,
Sure.
the wavelength, the energy is way different. The sounds, the decibels are different, and that does wonders for our human brain. It's a very important thing to do for everybody, to like when you're feeling that stress, go out in nature, and also like actually putting that into your daily habits so that you don't, it's built into your system so that you don't feel the stresses. So
Right.
you go out regularly to the ocean or hike,
take a hike somewhere.
Yep,
Sure.
go somewhere, even camping. We had a whole episode on camping.
Right.
Things like that help you like help you zoom out, get away from the the anxieties.
Right.
And then you can come back and tackle it in a different way. That's the
Sounds
important
good,
thing to
man.
mention.
For sure.
I hope this list kind of answers your questions. We started this episode with the question that you asked me, like, what are the steps we can do to handle daily stresses when you're going through the shit?
Yeah.
So from this list, what do you think you're gonna do?
Dog, the breathing thing already. Okay. I think that's something that I don't do. I don't stop to breathe. I think I just sometimes, I don't want to say I let life like wash over me, and I think there's a moment where I do have to just step back and stop like experiencing for a second and just be and sort of reevaluate what it is that I am taking in. So I think that just off top is something I would implement, immediately. And that's something I can think about whenever I feel like I'm just not being effective with my decision making or with whatever I'm putting my efforts towards. So those things, I think, I think there's a lot here. I'm just gonna have to scrub back and listen.
How are you gonna implement breathing into your day to day?
How am I? It's hard to say, man. It's just more about knowing that I have this tool now at my disposal. So I can't tell you when things are going to feel overwhelming for me. I can't tell you when life is going to throw a curveball. It's just that now I have something, which is 2 breaths in, 1 exhale out.
Yeah.
Something tangible, something different. And when people say breathe, I'm like, and it's like, nah, you're kind of hyperventilating. Yeah, bro, like that's not the breathing that they're talking about. You got to do this kind, which actually does slow it down. I did it twice right now, like in the episode, and that already felt like I was putting a space in between my thoughts even. And so
yes,
yeah, absolutely,
that's important. Is there a time that you can carve out in your day to like breathe for 5 minutes?
Yeah, I have to. Now I have to.
When is the time that you
morning
can,
for sure? Yeah.
You could. So
it's got to be up top. Like right now, I'm waking up when my daughter wakes up.
Which is at what time?
7.
So do you think you could wake up at 6:50?
Yeah, I'm gonna try. But
6:55.
I'm willing to try though. Okay. So like, yeah, I'm gonna hit that link.
Okay, nice. Yeah, and then maybe in a few weeks we'll come back and we'll
see how it's going. Yeah, exactly. We can follow up.
I like that. Yeah, that's perfect.
For sure.
Well, I think we discussed a lot in this episode.
Yeah.
It was dope. I loved sharing this with you because these are the problems that everybody faces.
Yes, sir.
Like all the time. You'll never get out of it. Like you will always have stresses to deal with, but like the key is to always keep improving the dealing with part of it. How do we
your ability to cope,
yes.
your ability to take in and not freak out.
Yes. Yeah. That is super important.
Hell yeah.
Using it for something else,
For sure.
All right, bro. Thank you so much. That's the episode.
Hell yeah.
And I'll see you next week.
Yes, sir.